Today I will show you 5 simple tools that I regularly use to keep my aquariums healthy and beautiful. Nothing expensive, nothing hard to find, but extremely useful stuff. If that sounds cool and valuable to you, let's get right to it. I stole these measuring spoons from my wife, and don't worry, she's got more. You can get measuring spoons pretty much anywhere, and they are pretty cheap. I use the stainless steel kitchen measuring spoons because those are the ones my wife had laying around before I stole them. But you can find even cheaper plastic ones online. You will use these all the time. If you buy minerals to increase your water hardness, there's usually a small plastic spoon that comes with it already. But I've noticed those tend to be a little too big. I think it's because they measure how much you should add to increase the mineral count for a specific amount of gallons. But not all aquariums that have the same amount of gallons have the same stuff inside. These companies can't know exactly what you have in your aquarium. And a lot of the things we use as hardscape can increase the mineral count already. So depending on what you have, you might not need as much as the instructions tell you. Because of that, the plastic spoons that come with the product can be quite bigger than what you need. And having these kitchen measuring spoons around is just very convenient. Guys, I use them for everything. To remineralize the water, obviously, but also to add medicine to my tanks when needed, to measure ingredients when I'm making some DIY fertilizers, and I use the smaller ones to feed my fish. The things you can use them for are endless. They are very useful for this hobby, and you should definitely have a few around for your aquarium. I know turkey basters are pretty commonly used in small tanks to pick up waste. Personally, I don't use them that way, because I have other tools for that. But I will tell you something that they are very handy for, picking up small snails. I don't have any issues with bladder snails, which are the ones I have experience with, but I know that a lot of people do. Some of you have also pointed out that there are other species of invasive snails that you have more issues with, but bladder snails are just the ones that I have dealt with. If you keep a mano shrimp or small fish, they will eat the smaller snails and the eggs, but the bigger adult snails will still be there. If you don't like the way they look, or you fear that your fish won't be able to keep them under control, you might end up having to remove a lot of them manually. For that, a turkey baster is pretty awesome, especially to remove them from your floating plants. Small snails love floating plants because they collect organic waste from the surface and create an awesome feeding ground for them. But just look at how easy it is to remove them with this turkey baster. I spent a long time trying to find something that would work to get them out of my floating plants, because my fish and shrimp couldn't get to them there. Thanks to one of you guys who suggested it in the comments, I finally found the perfect tool for it. If you are enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe. And remember that this is the last week you will have the chance to get our aquarium vacuum with 3 new colors. After May, we'll go back to our signature green. So check the link in the description to get yours right now. Every time I've bought an air pump, it has come with a check valve included. It prevents the water from floating back into the pump when it turns off, which is a big deal because it will damage the pump, and apparently it can also keep draining your aquarium onto your floor. I've never used an air pump without a check valve before, so I don't personally know how common it is for an air pump to create a siphon and start draining your tank. If sadly you've had an experience like that, let me know in the comments. What I do know is that the same check valve that comes with your air pump can be used for so much more. One thing that you can do is grab a piece of air tubing, cut it in half, add a T-coupling in between the 2 pieces, and then put a check valve on the end of each side. But you're going to position them so that one lets water in and the other one lets water out. Then you add a small piece of tubing to the other side of the T-coupling and connect a syringe to it. When you connect them that way, you create a tool that lets water in through one side but doesn't let the water back out through that same side. You can use this to do a lot of different things. I have used it to acclimate my fish. I just place the side that lets water in inside the aquascape, and when I pull on the syringe, the water goes into the tubing. Then, when I push on the syringe, it doesn't let it back into the tank because of the check valve. Instead, it goes out through the check valve on the other side. That way, I can start a siphon, and by using a small control valve, I can adjust the drip rate however I want. That is just one example of what you can do with it, but you can use this for any kind of liquid transfer. So next time you get a check valve with an air pump, save it, because they are very useful little tools. I've mentioned bristle brushes before, but I want to focus on a specific type for this video, the flexible double-ended bristle brush. This brush is approximately 61 inches long, with a wider brush on one side that is about 1.5 inches wide, and a smaller one on the other side, which is around 1/2 inch. It only cost about $7, and I've had this specific one for almost 4 years now. These are the only way I know to clean the inside of your filter hoses. They are long enough that you can push them through the whole length of the hoses, scraping all the dirt and algae out of them. They do a great job, and rarely do I have to pass them more than twice through the same hose to clean it completely. But what they are most useful for is cleaning glass lily pipes. Lily pipes have very weird shapes, and a normal brush just wouldn't work. When they are really dirty, because it's been a while since I last cleaned them, I usually use a mix of water and bleach to clean them. But when it's not too bad, and I just want them to look nice and clean, I use these brushes instead. They can bend to any shape and will reach even the very bottom of the inlet lily pipes, which are always the worst to clean. The brushes on each side have a different thickness too. The bigger one has softer bristles, and the smaller one's bristles are tougher. So you can pick which side to use depending on what you're doing. If you're currently having a tough time cleaning your filter hoses and lily pipes, adding these to your toolkit can really help. These ones are not exactly tools, but they are so small and simple that it's hard to consider them a piece of aquarium equipment. So I included them here, because they are pretty awesome. If you do regular water changes, you know how annoying it is to have to unplug your filter, heater, and skimmer every time, and then have to plug them all back in when you're done. It sucks, and I always keep a few of these switches around for that exact reason. I also use them for my water change system. I keep the pump inside my water reservoir plugged into one of them at all times. I also keep an extra 6-foot long power cord with a switch at the end that I use for the pump that takes the water out of my aquariums during water changes, or for anything temporary like my aquarium vacuum. You could plug all your equipment into smart timers, but those are more expensive. Timers make sense for the equipment that has to turn on and off every day, like your lights or CO2 system. But for filters and heaters that you only need to turn off once or twice a week for maintenance, timers feel like overkill. And that's why I use these switches instead. Please let me know in the comments which are your favorite tools, and if any of them are unexpected and unique, even better.